We're back again. Thank you very much. You're still watching us here on Cairo Local Time. And as I've spoke earlier, we're going to be talking about the industrial sector and how is it being impacted by the pandemic and what are the measures and plans that they have been taken. Now, currently factories are still ongoing. Maybe they have reduced the number of workers. Some factories have given their workers a holiday. People are talking about the expected scenario of what's going to happen next. And just as a human natural action, people are sort of panicking, not just in terms of how they should be self-quarantining themselves, but for those who have been noticing what's happening in Egypt and maybe across the world, because that's most likely the case every single place, including the United States, including countries in Europe, who you cannot go and walk into the bank and ask to withdraw large amounts or sums of money. But we see that happening, and I think maybe my guest, who I'm going to introduce shortly, will correct me, billions of Egyptian pounds, if not at least 33 billion, have been withdrawn out of the banks by people during the past 3 weeks alone. Now, we don't want to cause this kind of panic. It is an international pandemic. Everybody's in this together. But if we're going to talk from an industrial perspective, some countries are going to be more affected than others. But definitely what is surely been said by many analysts is that the world will not be the same after this pandemic the way we knew it once before the pandemic. What does that mean on an economic level? We're going to be talking this afternoon with our guest engineer, Samir Riad, who's the member of the Federation for the Egyptian Industries. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, engineer Samir, there has been a lot of panicking and everybody is wondering what's happening currently in the industrial sector in Egypt.
Definitely, the industrial section is a part of the society, and definitely it is affected because of the disturbance which is causing through this epidemic issue. And the daily life has been changed. You know, the market has been definitely no opening of shops, people are purchasing what is necessary in terms of food and so on, and then certain industries is affected. And, the world, if we are exporter, today the outside world is stopped nearly everywhere. There is a lot of disturbance in a lot of countries in Europe and in the United States right now. The whole thing is turning the other way. And this is the cause of because of the whole world is communicated with each other. We became one part of the world. There is a connection between Asia and Europe and America, and this connection is disturbed right now. And that's why I feel there is hopefully that this will not last long and things can come back, but definitely has got an impact on our industries.
Now, well, there have been a lot of talks about the fact that the airports have shut down, the naval has also shut down their shores. And what about exporting and importing in this perspective? What plan is happening? We're changing seasons now as well, so there have been a lot of expectations that new cargo is going to be coming in at the beginning of April. Now it's been pushed so far until further notice, until mid-April. What are plan Bs and such? I mean, you have been working in this business field for long. When an emergency takes place, and maybe this is an extraordinary emergency because it's a virus pandemic, who would have known that a virus would keep us all freaked out and at home? But now that an emergency happens, what usually is plan B? What do you do?
Unfortunately, we don't know when this is going to be stopped. And this is, if we don't know the time frame of this epidemic, people, of course, they are taking about 14 days and this and that, but it doesn't mean that we are pressing a button and everything is going to run again as normal. That's why the consequences of this is going to be seen about it when this epidemic is stopped, or there is a cure for it, or there is a remedy for this. That's why the whole world, when you say about the amount of goods, amount of money is moving around the world every day, you can see the disturbance in this issue is a huge disturbance.
You mean in terms of people withdrawing from banks? Is
that not only banks, I mean the exchange of goods, the exportation from one country to the other, raw material, finished goods, agricultural goods, whatever. It is a sort of the movement of the whole world is disturbed. That's why we, to make a plan, which you don't know when this is going to happen, because at the end of the day there is a consuming power which has been disturbed, which
Yes,
is the
of course.
market.
And that was not taken into consideration
Exactly.
before. I mean, usually when they say that, let's say the weather is going to be bad or a disaster is coming, you would start, preparing for scenarios. But in this case, it was an instant change, and it was like, a collateral effect. So
And
nobody...
it is a worldwide. It is not only on certain areas. When the tsunami or something like that was in a certain area, and it is finished, a few days and finished.
You know what? And it's just ironic, if I may put it in this way, that if it wasn't for, well, that's what many people believe, maybe that's what the president himself have noted very recently, is that if it wasn't for this strict economic measures that the country was going through during the past few years, we wouldn't be still firm on the ground with confidence handling such pandemic. What does that mean? Because a lot of people are not aware what that means. Maybe they're beginning to feel that, but they're not aware. What does that mean?
So it means that we are prepared for anything, that is the government and our people, definitely they are taking measures which, which it has got an effect of what is happening, and that's why the blow of this epidemic is not so huge, That is why, I see it, in the approach of our government to this problem, it was very professional.
We will be talking about the approach. Let's talk about the fact that now Egypt has many factories and industries that either have been established during the past couple of years or has been renovated, and now they have been producing things. Like, for example, let's talk about the chemicals that are being sprayed now to sanitize and disinfect the whole entire country, basically. I believe maybe a couple of years back that would have been a problem because now the airports are closed, so you can't even import these raw materials. So from this perspective, how are we going to sort of support these industries and local factories that will sort of go and help in this crisis?
Yeah, because these factories was not made to make this kind of stuff, but they are one of the things which they could do it, and they can turn overnight and do things like this. This is the beauty of it, and that is why this kind of companies, they are doing a lot of other things, of course, and for the day use and for house use and for industrial use. And now when things like this is happening, it is so easy for them to do something like this.
Engineer Samir, in terms of crises, and maybe Egypt is always very unique in handling any kind of crisis, is the fact that there's unity and integration between its citizens and people. So when the crisis first broke out, the government had insured or gave many insurances to industries and even personal people carrying credit cards on the fact that it's okay, calm down, you don't have to pay now, we can have an extension up to 6 months. I believe many people, if not everybody, received messages from banks saying that if you have any installments, if you have any credit card payments, you can be expelled for 6 months. And also burden has been lifted on the industry sector for payment issues. And people are doing the role by being self-quarantined. Some people are reducing the number of hours. What role can the sector play, or is playing now, to also help ease this issue? You're a businessman, and or you run an industry, and you do know that at the end of the day, the workers are afraid of two things: losing their monthly salary and also losing their job. How are you handling this crisis?
Well, definitely we have to secure the wages of our people, providing that this is not going to last very long, and definitely the support of the government and the banking at these days. If there was a sort of money which the government owned to those industries, they should pay it right now to enable the industry to proceed and the companies to pay their debts and their wages for the workers. That's why it is a vicious circle which we are in it. That everybody has to take part of. you know, to enable that this, I hope that it will not last a long time. And definitely, you know, we work with people, machine, and raw material. And if we stop, the people are the most important issue.
Aspect of this issue, yes, of course.
That's why we have to care about them.
Of course, of course.
And definitely, in certain industries, it is needed on this critical time to run, you know, in 3 shifts and over the 24 hours.
To reduce the number of workers.
Reduce the number of workers.
Social distancing.
And the security of the worker inside their working places is an issue which, you know, we have to care about it, and we have to do the measures to enable them that they will be safe.
What measures are you currently taking? That was my next question. What kind of measures? Some companies, they're distributing gloves and sanitizers, masks. What kind of social distancing?
All sorts of things. Also, this is, I believe this is the kind of issues which is expert has to provide and to give the knowledge to everybody, and we have to.
It's like an international standard.
Of course, we have to get it from the expert to do that. We don't do anything less or, you know, which can cause any problem. That's why the whole thing, everybody has got a role to play to enable us to do a good job.
So currently, numbers of workers have been reduced. Are they still working on same capacity? How are they handling? Who gets to decide who to stay and who to go? Or is it a shift, like I go today, you go tomorrow? How does it work?
There is a lot of issues can be done at home as well. You know, there is work which can be done through today, the revolution in the communication.
I was going to ask you about that as well, but I started by the ordinary workers, because these ordinary workers, Engineer Samir, are the majority of the people who are using these public transportations, who are working on daily basis. Some of them are even freelancers. They don't have a contract with a certain industry.
Right. Today in certain industries we cannot do this kind of thing, that we can get rid of some people or to make a shift, or, you know, this is, in some industries we cannot do it because it's line production and you need every operation in it. And in certain industries maybe you can do this, but not in every industry. At the end of the day, we have to take these measures to how to keep people safe in the working place, you know, and have distance between each other. We have to, you know, the atmosphere in the factory has to be done in a, you know, has to be seen about it, that it is the right thing, that if there is anybody is
the
ill,
ventilation area,
whatever. All sorts of things, I believe, you know, we have to leave it to the expert, which they have to tell everybody and to tell every factory what to do to enable them to do a good job.
Now let's talk about moving online and how technology has been discovered as an important aspect of our life. So it's not a luxury for you to use the internet today, it's a necessity to get your work done. We've seen so many companies and sectors, schools even in education, universities, even on leadership level, they were performing. The G20 went on video conference. So now you can conduct your work from home and things can go smooth as they are. How productive have people been since they started working at home? Because I've been getting astonishing reviews about this means, and it's like people are liking it now. I can work and I can work from home. How successful has it been proven?
It is successful. Actually, I am dealing with certain companies abroad, which most of the senior people and the, you know, the buyers and this and that, you know, they are working from home, and we are communicating with them through the net from home.
Yes, that's very
and
exciting.
This is
a bit odd at the beginning, but it's quite nice.
You know, actually, we learned something out of this crisis. You know, today, you know, we can do even education through this, you know, and that is as a revolutionary. If we can adopt it as well. Of course.
And it reduces time, see? You don't have to spend so much time in traffic.
And, you know, you don't need to build, you know, schools and universities and all of this kind of...
So I believe the pandemic will teach us a lot of lessons.
Of course we have, you know...
That's one of
exactly,
them. Let's hope we come out of this pandemic.
You know, actually this Second World War, you know, let us talk about the advancement of the...
Yeah, well
Okay.
I apologize, but the director is saying we have to end now. The top
Okay.
story is coming next. So it's, of course, lovely having you.
Thank you very
You'll
much.
definitely have a chance to have an opportunity again to talk.
Thank you very
maybe
much.
when we get over this
Definitely.
pandemic. Engineer Sami Riad, member of the Federation for the Egyptian Industries. Thank you very much for joining
Thank you
us on
very
Cairo
much.
Local Time. And brings us to the end of our episode of Cairo Local Time. The top stories are coming up next. Thank you very much for watching.